Well, hello everyone, welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I'm so excited for this episode because it is seed starting season. The weather is beautiful out, and we're out here in the garden today, and we're gonna be starting a few more seeds. And we gotta start our cucumbers and our squash and our zucchinis, pumpkins, melons, things like that can't be started indoors. So we had to wait for the weather to turn nice, and that nice weather has finally arrived. So I decided I would do a head-to-head comparison on seed starting mix just to look at a quality first perspective as to what you're getting, because one thing about seed starting mixes is that you don't really need to give them a long-term trial to look at if the price justifies the quality, because a seed starting mix will be good right off the bat, because seeds, they grow very quickly. Once they're in their seedling stage, they don't need a whole lot of nutrients, so you don't need to look at like fertilizer or things like that. It very much is just a quality component. Is the quality justifying the price? And the finer the quality, the better results you will get. And so I wanted to set out and find two mixes that I really liked and compare them by price to see if the price increase justifies that cost. So the first one is the most inexpensive option I could find here. That was something that I really would recommend using. This is a Burpee eco-friendly seed starting mix, 12 quarts, 12 dry quarts, and it cost us $6 at our local big box store. Now, compare that to $10 for 16 quarts. When it comes to seed starting mixes, they are all pretty much the same price. So it's a little bit more expensive, but hopefully that inexpensive versus expensive still is retained, because this is $10 for 16 quarts. So it is more expensive. So I think it is it's at least going to be a good comparison as to does the quality and the ingredients justify the price. Because one thing I've always said is that with gardening, you really do get what you pay for. If someone is selling something at a certain price, generally, if they want to stay in business, because gardeners are results-driven people and they share their results with their other gardeners, if you don't get good results with something and you paid a lot for it, you're going to tell your friends negatively about it. So if you want to stay in business in any length of time, people that sell gardening products know that the price has to reflect the quality. Otherwise, they won't be in business very long. So this is the Burpee seed starting mix. As you can see, we've talked about this before. It is a very loose, very well sifted mix. It has a composition of part peat moss, part coconut coir. Coconut coir is a fibrous, it's the inside fibrous husk of the coconut, and it also has really finely sifted perlite. It's something that I definitely have had good results with. One thing to be cautious of when using a coconut husk fiber is salt buildup. If you do not have a good quality coconut husk, sometimes they can be rinsed with salt water, because where they're grown in the tropics, they rinse the husks with salt water, and depending on the source, I'm not sure where this is sourced, it can have salt residue, which can harm plants over the course of time. That is not a huge concern of mine, given the fact that Burpee is a pretty well-known brand. I would imagine they probably have gone the extra mile to not have that, but that is something to be cautious of when using a coconut husk fiber. But you can see there, really good quality and really good texture, something that the roots are going to be able to penetrate into very well. It's going to hold on to good aeration, which is crucial for good seedling development. It's also going to hold on to its structure. It's not going to compact. It's not going to lose its structure over the course of a couple weeks. It's not going to choke out the roots. This is definitely a great seed starting mix, in my opinion, and something that I really would like. Now, the price obviously is a lot more expensive than I would be willing to pay, which is why I make my own. But based on the fact that there are a lot of people out there that don't want to make their own, they don't have the resources to make their own, or they don't need that much, this is a great price. I mean, $6 for this size bag is going to start, I mean, for most gardeners, is going to be all you're going to need. So I really like that, and I think this is a pretty good competitor. So ProMix is made in Canada, which means that all their ingredients are Canadian peat moss. They do not mix theirs with coconut husk fiber. This means that the pH is going to be slightly acidic. They also treat this with lime, which adds calcium, as well as pH balances the mix. That is something that is not the case for the Burpee organic seed starting mix. So that's actually going to add a little bit of, that's going to add some minerals to the mix. It's also got a little bit larger perlite than I would expect in a seed starting mix, but it also has much, much finer perlite, much finer than the Burpee seed starting mix. The finer the grade of perlite, the more expensive it is, because obviously a coarse perlite is very inexpensive to source. There's not been much sifting or grading done to it. It's just coarse perlite. But there is like microscopic perlite in there that really is very lightweight and something that's going to it's going to hold the structure of the soil even when you're talking on a very, very small scale. You know, when we look at starting our seeds, we grow them in 1 inch by 1 inch squares. Those 1 inch by 1 inch squares, you can't have large chunks of anything because they just take up too much space in those 1 inch by 1 inch squares. So the perlite means a lot to me. Another thing that I don't see is I don't see any large sticks. I don't see any large twigs. It's clearly been sifted down. That's key. That's something that we do when we make our own seed starting mix. I don't see any large chunks. So they've clearly done the work of sifting. I also do see a tiny little bit of what appears to be coconut husk fiber. Yes, there actually is coconut husk fiber in here. So I was wrong. The coconut husk fiber is actually in their seed starting mix, which is also news to me because I did not know ProMix produced a seed starting mix because I always made my own. I went with the large bales, and they're not marketed as a seed starting mix. So they actually went the extra mile and put in some coconut husk fiber. So there you go. There's the best comparison that I can do comparing two organic seed starting mixes that I've used before. It's really hard, like I said, to find a kind of like a really, really cheap version because they just don't make them. They're either kind of middle of the road cost like this Burpee here is, or a very similar one would be something like a Jiffy seed starting mix. Those are all kind of your store brand, kind of household name seed starting mixes. They're all the same price because they're all in the same market, and they're really almost selling the exact same product with very slight differences. And as we found with the higher end, you know, someplace you actually have to source it somewhere else because I haven't seen any big box stores or hardware stores around us carrying this ProMix. You'd have to go out of your way to purchase this, but if you do, the price does justify the quality, and it is slightly higher quality than the Burpee in my opinion. And so you can sound off in the comments box below your opinions. I am aware that this is my opinion, and based on my experience using these ingredients and my knowledge of the ingredients, I'm simply giving you my best inference as to which one is a better seed starting mix. So sound off in the comments box below if you disagree or agree. I'd love to hear your feedback. And also let me know some other seed starting mixes that you've used and the results that you've had. Maybe sound off with some bad ones, maybe sound off with some great ones. I just think it's nice also to know for consumer awareness some good and bad brands that are out there. And the experience that you've had with them. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home, and we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.